Everyone, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where are you watching us. Welcome to the 2021 Resilience Fellowship closing event. Just a few notes before we start. Please, as you heard when you joined, remember this webinar is being recorded. We're actually going to be sharing this event also on YouTube, and we have interpretation available. The options are English to Spanish and English to French. You can turn on this mode on the globes at the bottom of your screen. And also, if you want to ask a question or say hello to the fellows, send us a comment. You can also use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. And you can get started today by telling us where are you joining us from today. My name is Siria Gastelum. I'm joining from Canada, and today I will be your moderator. So this year was definitely been a challenging one, 2021. With the evolution of the pandemic, the new variants, and this virus that's still impacting our lives. But also 2021 was again a year of resilience, and that's why we're here today to celebrate the people who fought and are still fighting against organized crime in their communities. So without much further ado, I have the honor to introduce you to Tuesday Reitano. She's the Deputy Director of the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime. Thank you, Tuesday.
Thank you, Siria. Greetings, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us around the world. And of course, my special thanks to those Resilience Fellows from our second class who are joining us to present their work and discuss what they've learned today. The Civil Society Resilience Fund Against Transnational Organized Crime is an initiative started by the GI-TOC back in December 2019. It has been an innovative and evolving way to support grassroots actors working in their communities in the places where organized crime has the greatest impact, where people are dealing daily with challenges of violence, extortion, disappearances, but also threats to governance, the rule of law, to their economies and livelihoods, to their families and their children. It has been a humbling journey for us as an organization to learn both the immense challenges and the extraordinary bravery that people are facing and undertaking in their day-to-day lives, often with very limited support, neither support from their governments or local authorities who may either not have the capacity or the political will, or unfortunately be too affected by criminal governance challenges of their own to support their civil society in response, but also through direct threats to their lives and to their livelihoods from criminal groups. So we are working in this space, trying to understand how to build and protect and strengthen and grow a civil society leadership movement that is working with the challenges they see in front of them to find ways to grow a community response under the gravest of threat. So for us, the work that the Resilience Fellows have done, and this is our second class, we had a first group that launched into the pandemic, this also class into the second year of the pandemic, and will be announcing the winners of the third Resilience Fellowship in the coming days. This is for us, it's a cohort of change agents who are, we hope, examples and inspirations to many, many more. So in doing their work, they are learning from each other. They are sharing their own experiences. They are teaching us. And we hope through webinars like this, we can disseminate this more broadly into civil society and bilateral and multilateral interest groups so that their experiences can be documented, learned from, and shared. I will not speak anymore, but just to say that we are very pleased also to be at this juncture where after 2 years of the Resilience Fund, we have grown it both in financial scope and geographic scope. We would like to offer our thanks to the government of Norway, who invested in the idea when it was just a fledgling concept, as well as to some of our other donors who have grown its activities and continue to invest and build in the fellowship and in the regular grants program. If you do want to learn more about the Resilience Fund and the fellowships, you can find them online on our website, or of course, reach out to the Resilience Fund team, who would be delighted to talk to you about your own work. So thank you again to Siria, to all of our Resilience Fund and to our Resilience Fellows. I'm super excited to see what you've got to share with us today.
Thank you, Tuesday, and definitely thank you to the Global Initiative too, to the team, to the mentors, to the network who have been also a great support for the success of this second fellowship. And as you were saying, Tuesday, this fellowship has represented a great learning opportunity for us, because we're not only learning how to manage this international community in the midst of a pandemic, but we're also, as we're interacting with the fellows, we're learning from each other different types of effects that organized crime in local communities, but also different types of responses, different ways to look at the same problem from different perspectives. And that is why I have the honor to present one of our fellows today, Miloš Katić. He's a specialist in criminalistics and financial forensics from Serbia, and he's one of the 2021 fellows who's going to tell us today a few of the things that this cohort learned from the 2021 Resilience Fellowship. Welcome, Miloš. I think your mic is off.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, great. Thank you, Siria, and hello everyone from Serbia. I'm Miloš Katić from Vojvodinian Investigative Analytical Center, and I'm one of the fellows from the last year. So first of all, I want to thank you for your presence at the event today, and of course it will be easier for us to see each other offline, but the pandemic is still here, and I think that Zoom as a tool started to be our regular channel of communication. So I hope that we will make the best from it today. Just one moment, I have some issue with. Okay. So also in the name of our fellow team, I want to say thank you to the Resilience Fund and the Global Initiative team for gathering us as a team and working with us as mentors. So thank you once again for this great opportunity. So what we as a team did and identify during this program. Just to mention one short thing there for all those who are not completely familiar with our fellowship program, it lasted almost 1 year, and we were working, investigating and learning about the topic of extortion and organized crime during that time, during this program. So how we grew up during the last year, we have a lot of mentorship work and attended a lot of numbers of workshop about extortion, but also on the topic of networking and coalition building, and also for advocacy. All those things were very important for us in our work, because it has influence on us, and I think that it will have influence in the future work, especially in the part of advocacy. For example, I will use my own experience when we are talking about networking and about my joint program which I had with my colleague Zia from Pakistan. That was not just exchange of experience between us, but also cultural exchange. And I learned a lot about his society, community, and about environment in which he works. Also, we have that interesting moment when we are talking about when we talked about title for our article, and Zia mentioned that okay, we have connect our two cities and make something about that. And I asked him, okay, Zia, please can you tell me, because I I must be really honest that I didn't Google something about Karachi. And he said, okay, my city has approximately 30 million citizens. And I said to him, okay, but my whole country have approximately 7 million. So I think that we have a small issue here. But it was interesting because on our example, we noticed that smaller community and smaller community, especially those on the local level, has similar problem as bigger community in bigger countries. So models are similar, and but we have difference in brutality of those who are perpetrators. So one important thing during this process, we learn why is safe communication is very important, because some words, when I say in my country, looks very usual for me, but can cause a problem to Zia. So it's very important to find on which channel of communication you use when you communicate with persons from other countries. So who are we? So we are the team, but I think that this team is not usual team. This is team with passion. We are coming from 10 countries, from Guatemala, Mexico, Serbia, Peru, Democratic Republic of Congo, Malawi, Liberia, Madagascar, Pakistan, and Indonesia. And I think that all of us is united in that we want to make change in this sphere on this topic of extortion. So when I was preparing for this webinar and I scrolled on my social networks, I found this quotation. So if you have a passion for something, that fuel is 90% of what you need to make change happen. So imagine multiply that 9 or 10 times, and after this program, I know that I'm not alone in, and there that at least 9 person who are involved to make change and to end extortion and organized crime now. So it is motivation to find strength and make effort, because I think that we can see success or success in this process. So during our work, we define 9 key words for this topic. So those are words: research, enforcement, support, impunity, and I will add in bracket and impunity, cooperation, trust, justice, and respect. When we come to research, what we did during this program. So we research on the types of organized crime and extortion on different countries and regions. Identifies extortion, land extortion, connection between usury and extortion, racketeering, public transport drivers extorted, and extorted traders. And we develop a knowledge access digital portal for specific region that contains geolocalized crime data, including extortion. Why this is important? All those things which we did during this program, we make small steps in our communities to give example to our governments, authorities, and other stakeholders what they can do. So we expect from our governments that they must carry out and support research to identify the root causes of extortion and organized crime in communities and take action to address them. Legislation and law enforcement have a little impact in these underlying problems are ignored. Research can also help to identify where resources are most needed to deal with organized crime and extortion. And one important thing is during the whole process, the strategic planning is very important, especially if we are planning to really to end extortion now. It's really important to think in advance and to make plans for the longer period from 5 to 10 years. So next word is enforcement. And during this program, we identified that some countries do not have a specific anti-extortion law. And this is not a problem just on one continent, but we have examples on several continents. Also, we made a campaign to the authorities and the society and analyzed law enforcement data and reported cases. So we expect from the government that they must improve law enforcement and the justice system. Laws against extortion are of little use if they are not implemented and enforced, and that is the part where government have a key role in this, and the authorities can take such action through coalitions and partnership with communities where extortion causes tension, stress, and fear. So we after that we come to support. It's a very important part of our work because we support the local businesses to access justice and warn the wider public, address the lack of psychological support to victims of extortion, and supported different actors in the fight against extortion. We trained journalists, lawyers, community members, and local authorities, and we made a lot of workshops with those groups. So we also produced guidelines to understanding extortion and how to combat it. All those things were very important to support community and CNSO and different stakeholders for better understanding of extortion and to give them advice how to fight against that, because we need allies in all those processes. So we expect the complaints should not be further victimized by the criminal investigation process when they ask for help from the authorities, given that the crime of extortion can be associated with forced disappearance, homicide, femicide, and kidnapping. It is necessary that consequences be truly investigated and for the victims to be given comprehensive support, including necessary psychological assistance. We noticed that psychological assistance is very important during the process, especially when victim report case to the authorities, and it's needed to have psychological support from the very beginning of the whole process. So when we are talking about participation, work with victims and local youth support groups to expand reach and encourage them to report such cases which were hitherto normalized. It's very important that all victims need that and should understand that they are not alone in whole this process. We involved working with perpetrators also, who are also victims of socioeconomic oppression and stigmatized, cancelled and rehabilitated. It's very important part because when perpetrators finish their sentence and if they want to come back to community and to work and have regular normal life, usually they they are not accepted by communities, so they need support in this sphere. And also we realized awareness and educative campaign, some of them had focus on youth and women. So we expect that youth outreach is another important area where action is needed to address the problems facing those who may be vulnerable to extortion and to being drawn into such criminal activities themselves. Effective steps could be for academic institutions to facilitate and encourage community service by students, including peer counseling and awareness campaign to discourage early stage of criminal activities and extortion involving young people. Impunity, and once again, I will add end impunity. So we look at how large companies would use force and threaten indigenous communities to give up their land. And my colleagues from fellowship program is here. So if you will be interested deeper in those, in some of those topics, you will have opportunity to hear case studies after me, and also to ask a question. So we also activated a reporting mechanism, trained members of the community to use it, expanded their legal awareness, and build a coalition with civil society organizations working on overlapping issues such as environmental protection and human rights. And we also advocate against land extortion. We expect that people should have an easily accessible means to report extortion as a part of process that leads to thorough but efficient investigation of the crime. Complaints from the community must be followed up and prosecuted even when the crimes have been committed by officials, companies, parties, or others in position of power. Victims have a right to expect justice by following this process. Cooperation. Cooperation is one very important part of all this process, because we are all together in this fight against corruption. So we involve the law enforcement and the journalists in campaign to sensitize them on how extortion transpires and sustains in our community. We focus on human rights and the media to advocate with the authorities to take effective action against extortion and organized crime in order to achieve positive change in perpetrators and communities. Reported about the extent of extortion that traders face from across the border. It's very important to mention that when we are talking about extortion, it's our criminals usually have cooperation across the border, so we must have that cooperation outside of our borders of our countries. So we also made local cooperation and involved different stakeholders interested in the topic of extortion. So we expect from governments that should develop strategies and mechanisms for working together to combat cross-border extortion, including relevant cooperation on intelligence and law enforcement in ensuring justice and addressing impunity. Trust. This part is from the beginning is very important, because on the very first step we must got trust by victims and also from other stakeholders who are interested in this topic. So we implemented trainings with communities so that they can better understand how to claim their rights, and also involved local human rights defenders and civil society actors to accompany these communities in the fight against extortion. We also work on building trust between law enforcement, civil society, and media. This part is very important because all those stakeholders should sit on the same table and talk about this issue. So we expect efforts to end extortion can benefit sustainably from social cohesion, and this should be encouraged through building trust. Citizens play a significant role in the protection of the communities, but cohesion between communities and the authorities demands mutual trust. Citizens must be able to rely on the will and the efforts of local authorities and law enforcement to bring perpetrators to justice and to reduce extortion. Finally, justice. When we encourage victims to report cases that were hitherto normalized, we also analyze the data about cases in the courts and present it on public events. When we are talking about those data which we analyzed in the courts, we must say that we notice a difference between cases in our institutions and difference when we talk with citizens about all those topics. So we expect and we demand justice for the victims of extortion, and the perpetrators must be brought to justice and held to account. And finally, the last word is respect. We must respect each other because we have one goal, to end extortion now. We need respect, and we must be united when we fight against extortion, especially because we want to end extortion now. So that is all for me. If you have some question, maybe we can use this opportunity.
Thank you, Miloš. That is definitely a lot of work, what the fellows did, and there's not enough time to cover all these important actions that you did in all your communities in all the 10 countries. So we really want to commend you for all this. And we will actually go back to this expectation, to this call for action at the end of this event. But as you were saying, the theme for the 2021 fellowship was extortion and organized crime. And next, we are going to present to you some of the particular case studies that you were talking about, Miloš. So thank you very much. Now, please join me in welcoming Vania Pillonot. She's a journalist from Guerrero, Mexico. She's co-founder of the website amapolaperiodismo.com, a media outlet that focuses on creating social changes through journalism, in addition to covering the effects of organized crime and creating counter narratives to address problems in one of the most violent states in Mexico. Welcome, Vania. Mucho gusto verte por aquí.
Muchas gracias, Siria, y buenos días a todos. Muchas gracias a Iniciativa Global y al Fondo Resiliencia por convocarnos esta mañana. Y bueno, pues fue un año muy intenso. Justamente la pandemia provocó que la reportería, el trabajo de campo, pues fuera diferente en la proximidad con la gente con la que trabajamos. En mi caso, el proyecto se llama Tierra de Resilientes y básicamente es por la razón que tú acabas de mencionar, Siria. Guerrero es un estado violento que está al sur de México y es un estado pues, que se ubica fácilmente en 2014 por la desaparición forzada de los 43 normalistas de Ayotzinapa. Sin embargo, como bien lo decía Miloš, en este año, pues durante la investigación que consideró pues varias reuniones con pequeños empresarios, con propietarios de puestos en mercados que no son propiamente empresarios, sino pequeños comerciantes, pues pude descubrir que la extorsión es un delito que abre la puerta a otros delitos como la desaparición forzada de personas, como los homicidios, como los feminicidios. Guerrero también es un estado que cuenta con doble alerta de violencia de género y esta es una medida de la Secretaría de Gobernación para los estados en donde hay una violencia tan sublime que los feminicidios pues también cruzan el territorio traslapados en otras violencias. Durante esta beca tuve estas charlas con empresarios que pues desde 2013 han vivido pues el año más violento en la época contemporánea. Guerrero ocupó el primer lugar nacional como la entidad más violenta del país, solo por poner un ejemplo en la tasa de homicidios estuvo en 47.76%, por encima de Morelos, que es un estado vecino, con el 43.99%, y estados más al norte del país como Chihuahua y Sinaloa, pero también el Estado de México, que es un estado que colinda con Guerrero. Es importante comentarles que durante esta beca pues hice 42 entrevistas formales con académicos, con expertos, con exfiscales generales del Estado que hablaban también de algo que es muy importante mencionar. La tasa de impunidad en Guerrero está muy por encima de la media nacional. En Guerrero, pues la investigación no alcanza ni el 1%, cuando en algunos estados del país, como estados como Nuevo León, como Sinaloa, sí hay un poco más de investigación en cuanto a estos delitos. También es importante mencionar que la investigación abarcó entrevistas con transportistas, con abogados, con diferentes autoridades, con personas, con familiares de personas desaparecidas, quienes tienen una narrativa muy clara de por qué un delito como la extorsión no se investiga, y ellos tienen que llegar a la Fiscalía General del Estado a denunciar otros crímenes como los homicidios, como los feminicidios y como la desaparición forzada, porque Guerrero también es un estado que desde los años 70 pues se caracteriza por este delito de lesa humanidad. Para entender el fenómeno de la extorsión hice una línea de tiempo abarcando el 2013 como el año más violento y terminando en el 2021, que fue el año pasado, que fue el año pues en donde todavía estamos atravesando una pandemia por la enfermedad COVID-19, y sin embargo el año pasado fue importante porque en algunos casos, como es Guerrero, pues hubo cambio de autoridades tanto municipales como también de la gubernatura, y esto da pues otros códigos de criminalidad que pude documentar, en el sentido de que las extorsiones, como el cobro de piso, en algunas ciudades en donde yo me enfoqué, como Acapulco, que es el centro turístico más importante de Guerrero, pero también uno de los destinos turísticos más conocidos a nivel mundial, Chilpancingo, que es la capital, y Ciudad Altamirano, que es la parte de la Tierra Caliente que colinda con estados como el Estado de México y también con el Estado de Michoacán, otros estados que también presentan tasas elevadísimas de este delito. Y bueno, pude documentar que del 2013 para acá tenemos un fenómeno cruzado, como es pues la baja economía, porque los empresarios también reportan pues un cierre de negocios por la baja de ventas por la pandemia de COVID-19, pero también se cruza el fenómeno del cambio de gobernanza criminal en ciudades como Chilpancingo, en donde al mismo tiempo de que entran las autoridades locales, hay un cambio de argumento y los empresarios se vieron en la necesidad, sobre todo de pequeños negocios, como lo estamos viendo aquí en la presentación, negocios que son de ropa, negocios que tienen que ver con refaccionarias, negocios que tienen que ver con materiales, con papelería, pues tuvieron que cerrar porque no hay venta. El caso de Acapulco, pues es el paraíso de la extorsión. Es un caso que está muy normalizado de acuerdo a lo que comentan las mismas autoridades. Para revertir este fenómeno no ha habido un plan gubernamental unificado y es imposible que la gente no pague extorsión en casos como Acapulco, porque lo vemos desde las actividades más básicas, como un señor que puede acomodar carros en la costera Miguel Alemán, hasta los pequeños negocios como taquerías y personas que venden cena en las noches. Tienen años que pagan extorsión, y ellos, a diferencia de empresarios pues más establecidos, que tienen discotecas, que tienen hoteles y que tienen negocios más grandes, sí pudieron dejar de pagar cuota, de acuerdo a los testimonios que pude recabar en 2018, porque colaboraron con el pasado gobierno para detener a extorsionadores. Es importante mencionar el caso de Ciudad Altamirano. En esta fotografía se ve parte de lo que son las instalaciones de FEMSA, de la Coca-Cola, que cerró sus operaciones en 2018, porque el caso Altamirano, que es la tierra caliente pegada a estados como Michoacán y Estado de México, pues vemos una extorsión mucho más focalizada ya son los grupos criminales establecidos de acuerdo también a las versiones de las autoridades, quienes venden los productos de la canasta básica, incluidos los refrescos, las cervezas, y entonces la extorsión la paga la población, más allá de los grandes empresarios o los medianos empresarios que pagan por otro tipo de protección. Es importante mencionarles que establecidos hay 14 grupos criminales en Guerrero, como podemos ver en este mapa del estado, y es importante mencionarlo porque esta connivencia de los grupos delictivos con grupos de civiles armados, como vemos en esta diapositiva, Guerrero es uno de los estados más armados, no nada más por policías comunitarias y grupos que se autodenominan de civiles armados, sino también es un estado militarizado, y esto para los empresarios, para la gente, pues ha tenido que ser un elemento de resiliencia, ha tenido que ser un elemento que tienen que incorporar en sus pasivos, en sus gastos, incorporar como el pago de seguridad privada, incorporar que en su publicidad tengan que integrar, en el caso de destinos como Acapulco, que hay convoyes militares, que hay en este momento hay Guardia Nacional, está la Marina, está el Ejército, y para no inhibir al turismo, pues ellos tienen que integrar esta explicación en sus estrategias de venta, lo cual ha sido muy complicado porque por lo menos en este periodo del 2013 para acá, pues ha habido una desfragmentación también de grupos del crimen organizado. Hasta el momento la Fiscalía General del Estado reconoce estos 14 grupos criminales establecidos, algunos grupos son nacionales, es decir, que operan en otros estados, como el Cártel Jalisco Nueva Generación y la familia michoacana, pero algunos grupos son locales, como es el caso de los Ardillos, que está establecido en parte de la región centro, donde ubicamos la capital del estado, que es Chilpancingo, y también la montaña, y entonces es mucho más difícil que la gente que vive en comunidades, sobre todo en comunidades indígenas, pueda tener algún tipo de denuncia y algún tipo pues, de garantía para que puedan denunciar la extorsión. Guerrero es un estado de varias violencias, pero una de las más invisibles es la extorsión, una de las más normalizadas es este delito, y la gente ha tenido que reunirse, los empresarios y también familiares de desaparecidos que han tenido pues eventos de extorsión ya con familiares desaparecidos, han tenido que generar grupos y redes, alianzas entre ellos para avisarse de cómo va cambiando la criminalidad en un estado tan complejo y que colinda con otros en donde tampoco los índices de secuestro, de homicidio, de feminicidio, pues son los mejores. Los invito a ver el proyecto durante este mes y el mes de febrero, que lo dividí en estos 4 capítulos, pues para hablar para unir todas las voces de las personas con las que platiqué, las estadísticas que pude recolectar con la solicitud de información pública en el Secretario Ejecutivo de Seguridad Pública y también a las fiscalías de los diferentes estados del país. Y es importante que es un delito invisible y aprendimos también que a diferencia de casos como Italia, como el caso de la mafia italiana, pues en el caso de Guerrero sería impensable que fueran los propios empresarios los que colaboren con las autoridades de lleno, porque en algunos casos simplemente es tan porosa esta criminalidad, es tan porosa la connivencia entre los diferentes actores que tampoco hay pues claridad de confianza ni por parte de las autoridades ni tampoco por parte de quienes están realizando realmente las denuncias. Hay un fenómeno ante un estado criminal de imitación de la extorsión y la extorsión puede tener hasta 12 modalidades diferentes en casos como Guerrero. Y bueno, concluyo diciendo que el caso de la desaparición forzada de personas está completamente conectados con la extorsión porque las autoridades no pueden prever este delito original hasta que ya llegamos a un caso de desaparición, homicidio o feminicidio. Muchas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias a ti, Vania, por todo el trabajo que has hecho. Thank you, Vania, for all the work you've done. The case of Guerrero in Mexico is very particular, as you say, because of the importance of this state in the organized crime map and the militarization that has been going on in the last years. But now from Mexico, we go to Malawi. Remember, you can also post questions to the fellows on the chat. We love hearing where are you from. Thank you so much for commenting also. But now I would like to introduce the fellow Ponelo Kalonga. She's from Somba, Malawi. She's a women's rights activist working against sexual exploitation and gender-based violence. Her initiatives support vulnerable women against sexual exploitation and trafficking through education, mentoring, and leadership development. Welcome, Ponelo.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. So it was such an honor to be part of the 2021 Resilience Fund Fellowship. And I'll just take you through my work, extortion and organized crime in Zomba district. So during this project, I've been working to end the silence in Malawi and give a voice to the victim who suffer extortion and abuse, often by people in positions of authority or power, simply for trying to improve their employment prospects or their education. So people in positions of authority are often shielded by the power. That's the case in Malawi, and their status. And extortion and demands for bribes, service delivery, and access to social services and justice. So the result is patronage and nepotism that intensify inequality and poverty in Malawi, particularly among the youth. That's the focus group that I've been working with in this project, who are the usual victims of extortion, and that exists in both public and private sectors. So as Miloš put it in his presentation, that some countries do not recognize extortion yet as a law. This is the case of Malawi. So in Malawi, extortion is usually has an element of gender-based violence. It is not recognized mainly as a corrupt practice. So extortion has been systematically used to victimize the youth, who make up a large percentage of those seeking employment, business opportunities, and access to other social services. And this research is the reason why I had to focus on extortion and organized crime among the youth. So the victims of extortion in Malawi are being failed by the system. This has come to a light through this project, extortion and organized crime, because I found out that those who face obstacles have been prevented justice, they have been prevented access to justice and support, and they have nowhere to turn to. So they stay silent, and usually the perpetrators go unpunished. And that's where comes the campaigns that have been conducting, the ending the silence, thus breaking the culture of silence through awareness campaigns. So we're looking at the fight against extortion and organized crime in Malawi, and how I've been doing it through this project, extortion and organized crime. So as I have already explained, that this project is focusing on people, on youth, and we are focusing to end the silence among the youth. And we have done this through the information campaigns and initiative as an initiative for increasing awareness and knowledge, particularly among the victims of extortion. And the project has so far encouraged the victim to speak out through awareness and sensitization campaigns to tell their stories, which I'm going to share just recently, one of the case studies that came out as a result of our awareness campaigns, and to promote zero tolerance of these victims. So the project targets young people at work, as well as job seekers and those searching for other social opportunity services, just as like I said. So most victims of extortion remain silent because they are denied a platform to speak out. And that's where comes this project, the Extortion and Organized Crime. We have provided that platform to those who are in fear, to those who have remained silent for a long time after facing extortion, after suffering these consequences, as those who stand up speaking against the perpetrators may suffer further reprisal, retaliation, and also corruption. So one of the awareness campaigns that I had, that is the Breaking the Silence campaign. It has led the way to a number of victims coming out to tell their stories of extortion. As you can see, the lady in this picture, she's one of the victims of extortion that came out about a story that she faced extortion in a workplace when she had their company was when Malawi, that is, faced a deadly cyclone. That it was in about 2-3 years ago. That is in 2019. So the officials were committing fraud because they were not providing the necessary aid to the people who were supposed to receive it. So because it was a chain of fraud in the company, like everyone was involved except her, she wanted to come out and tell about it, but then she wasn't able to tell because firstly, she was the only one who was willing to be truthful in this case, and as a result, she faced the boss, because like I said, it's involving people in power. So she became under pressure because her boss she was unable to leave the job, firstly, because as it was happening, her boss threatened her to say if she speaks out, firstly, she will lose her job. And also the tables are going to turn for her. And that way, because she was afraid of losing her job, now she had to be paying the boss in this case. So she was paying the boss over a crime she did not commit, and also staying silent because she was not ready to lose her job at that particular moment. So this weapon has greatly been used as a weapon to silence many victims, including this young lady herself, as she explains, where the perpetrator is in a position of power, as she said. Lastly, during this project, I have come to find out ways that we can fight against extortions, that is strategies that we've put together through working with the law enforcement officers, the community, and the victims themselves. So we came to analyze that the community social bond has proven to be key to successfully put extortion to an end in Malawi. And throughout my project, I've come to learn that the main obstacle to bringing down extortion levels and persecuting perpetrators is the lack of trust among the local authorities and the law enforcement officers. And also we looked at improving the flow of information from communities to law enforcement is the best step in the right direction to put extortion to an end. So all these things I'm explaining are in the way that we are going towards the right direction in putting this as strategies to end extortion, and also maintaining communications and exchanging experiences across both parties that have been an essential part of building a successful community policing approach, as well as strengthening cooperation between the police and the local authorities that will have a high impact in preventing as well as resolving extortion crimes in Malawi. So lastly, the collaboration campaigns that we have had, like the example of the Breaking the Silence campaign that we've been conducting between the law enforcing and the at-risk group, that is the youth themselves, and the people from the community as a whole, to raise awareness about extortion issues in Malawi and how to resolve them, has successfully contributed to fulfilling the purpose of my project. And lastly, I would like to thank the GI and the Resilience Fund for the opportunity to be a 2021 Resilience Fund Fellow. Thank you.
Thank you, Ponelo. We are definitely very proud of the work and all the awareness you've been able to do in your communities. And in fact, this working with local authorities is something that a lot of our fellows did. But let's go to another example, another case study now from Malawi to Madagascar. I would like to introduce you our fellow Rina Raymond. She's an activist for press freedom in her country, and she's a founder and general secretary of the Madagascar Network of Investigative Journalists. Merci, Rina.
Oui, bonjour à tous. Excusez-moi, je vais me déplacer un petit peu parce que là, on capte mal l'Internet. Un instant, s'il vous plaît. Oui, on reprend?
Yes, we hear you.
Tout d'abord, oui, ok, c'est bon. Comme je suis en Brousse, là, dans le nord-ouest du pays, on capte un peu mal la connexion, mais quand même, je crois que ça marchera. Donc, moi, je suis Rina Raymond, journaliste d'investigation, freelance basée à Madagascar. Et parmi les boursières de la bourse de Résilience Fund pour l'année 2021. Donc, ma présentation va se porter sur le cas du district de Béjouk dans le sud de Madagascar. Et ça va porter surtout sur la mobilisation de tous les acteurs et les victimes pour que ce délit ne reste pas impuni. Tout d'abord, pourquoi j'ai choisi donc de travailler sur ces thèmes, surtout l'impunité. On peut passer au slide suivant, s'il vous plaît. C'est parce que on aimerait vraiment que à Madagascar la lutte contre l'extorsion soit un exemplaire par rapport aux autres luttes contre les crimes organisés. Parce que c'est vraiment un crime qui ronge la société malgache, notamment dans les zones rurales, comme le district de Béjouk, là où il y a 22 communes, et on a fait l'échantillonnage sur 4 communes. Donc, on a essayé de mobiliser les victimes, de briser le silence. Et en parallèle, on a sensibilisé les acteurs de lutte pour qu'ils soient convaincus qu'aucune impunité ne soit pas acceptée. Donc, c'est une mission à double sens au niveau des victimes et au niveau des autorités qui sont en charge de l'application de la loi. Et notre objectif, c'est vraiment zéro impunité contre l'extorsion. Prochaine slide, s'il vous plaît. Et par rapport à cet objectif global, notre objectif prioritaire, c'est qu'on a donc axé notre objectif spécifique sur 3 axes, notamment la lutte, c'est-à-dire, on a parlé tout à l'heure de l'encouragement des victimes à briser le silence parce que soit ils ont peur, soit ils sont victimes de représailles. Donc, c'est 2 choses qu'on doit vaincre et deux choses qu'on doit surmonter sûrement si on veut vraiment atteindre l'objectif là contre l'impunité de l'extorsion. Et on vise également à renforcement de l'application stricte de la loi à Madagascar. Et on a eu tant de plaidoiries, on a beaucoup de plaidoiries au niveau des autorités, les forces de l'ordre qui sont en charge de l'enquête, au niveau des procureurs de la République ou des juges, auprès des tribunaux qui sont en charge des procès et la prise des sanctions ou l'annonce des verdicts. Et c'est par rapport à tout ça, on aimerait bien donc que même les victimes et même les acteurs de lutte ont le courage de casser ce qui ne va pas aujourd'hui et de prendre la bonne décision pour que l'effectivité de la lutte contre l'extorsion soit palpable et aura des impacts positifs au niveau de la société, notamment la population dans les zones rurales comme Béjouk. Prochain slide, s'il vous plaît. Donc, pour parvenir à tout ça et pour qu'on puisse adopté les stratégies de lutte que moi, personnellement, avec mon mentor et ma personne de ressources et contact auprès de GI, on a donc adopté quelques méthodologies et de fixer quelques résultats. Donc, en tant que journaliste d'investigation, on a choisi donc l'investigation journalistique comme moyen, le principal moyen qui nous a permis d'avoir les données, d'avoir les informations et d'avoir les témoignages pour que nous avons des bases de départ et également des informations exploitables en vue d'adopter les stratégies. On a également fait des plaidoiries, comme j'ai annoncé tout à l'heure, et les plaidoiries ne se limitent pas au niveau des autorités locales en milieu rural, mais également au niveau des autorités dans le chef-lieu du district de Bedrouk. J'ai parlé des tribunaux, mais également leur supérieur hiérarchique. Dans la capitale même, en Analytical, par exemple, on a parlé des responsables du ministère de la Justice et des gardes des Sceaux. On a parlé avec les commandants des forces de l'ordre, au niveau de la gendarmerie, au niveau de l'armée, au niveau de la police nationale. Et tout ça, c'est pour mieux comprendre qu'est-ce qui se passe et quels sont les obstacles qui ne leur permettent pas d'appliquer la loi telle qu'elle est. Et également, après la compréhension, de proposer des solutions qui vont aboutir à défendre les victimes, à défendre les gens vulnérables qui sont parfois des gens très peurs et ou par exemple, victimes déjà des représailles avant même de dénoncer. Il y a également les formations et les ateliers. On a parlé avec les jeunes qui sera plus tard dans nos perspectives. Je vais parler vers la fin les perspectives. Les jeunes qui vont contribuer et qui vont être également des acteurs principaux dans les démarches pour mettre un terme à ce fléau, à ce déni qui ronge la société malgache, notamment en milieu rural. Et enfin, par rapport aux plaidoiries qu'on a fait, on a donc des rencontres, on a fait des débats et on a eu l'opportunité, ce qui est l'avantage, c'est que ce sont les jeunes eux-mêmes, les associations des jeunes eux-mêmes, nous a invités à faire des partages sur ce qu'est l'extorsion et ce sont eux-mêmes qui ont participé à proposer des solutions adaptées à leur temps, mais également adaptées à la société malgache. Prochain slide, s'il vous plaît. Donc, comme résultat, on a fixé avec GI ces quelques résultats. On a eu l'opportunité donc de faire des publications, des livrets, un livret qui va être utilisé comme outil de travail surtout pour les agents de lutte contre l'extorsion, mais également un outil de sensibilisation pour les victimes, parce qu'on va parler dans ce livret, c'est quoi l'extorsion, qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire, les procédures à suivre, les personnes à contacter, et également quelles sont les lois en vigueur à Madagascar, comme quoi les gens peuvent plaider, les gens auront du moins même un tout petit peu les moyens d'oser à dénoncer et d'être garanti qu'il a des lois, il a des textes qui les protègent. On a produit également, en tant que journaliste, on a produit une vidéo de plaidoirie de 9 minutes qui vont servir également un outil de plaidoirie, comme le livret là. Et d'ailleurs, c'est le livret, en quelque sorte, c'est le contenu de livret qu'on a transformé en vidéo, parce que après nos études sur terrain, la diffusion des vidéos la diffusion est plus pratique et plus attrayante et plus convaincante, surtout pour les habitants dans les zones rurales. On a fait également des formations, des partages avec des journalistes dans les zones où on travaille, c'est dans le sud. On a donc l'implication des jeunes, on a parlé tout à l'heure. Et ce qui est très, très bon, c'est que les collègues journalistes sont très impliqués et très convaincus qu'il faut faire quelque chose ensemble. Et la preuve, c'est que lors du lancement des livrets, les diffusions des vidéos et les reportages sur les activités qu'on a menées dans le cadre du CES, on a des journalistes qui sont impliqués. Pour terminer, est-ce qu'on peut passer la slide suivante, s'il vous plaît? Donc, c'est pour un indicatif d'évaluation. On a déjà parlé que des associations sont impliquées. On a compté, suivant, s'il vous plaît. Donc, on a reparti 700 livrets et on a encore des commandes sur les livrets parce que lors des missions en tant que journaliste, c'est de partager dans d'autres régions, non seulement à Pechukou, dans le sud. Il y a la diffusion des vidéos en milieu rural et au niveau des universités. Les journalistes ont été formés et jusqu'à maintenant, donc, après un an de bourse, on a 64 associations qui ont été convaincues qu'ils vont contribuer prochainement dans le combat de la lutte contre l'impunité sur l'extorsion. Et je crois qu'on va terminer avec le dernier slide sur les recommandations et la perspective. Donc, c'est que on peut passer. C'est que on a donc par rapport aux résultats qu'on a parlé tout à l'heure, on ne va pas s'arrêter là. La bourse est une porte d'ouverture et on va projeter donc la continuité pour les prochaines années et même pour l'année 2022. On a déjà quelque chose et je crois que, comme Miloš a parlé tout au début, que la bourse n'est que le point de départ, mais on va continuer à travailler à travers des articles des médias comme un journaliste, mais également on va faire des plaidoiries et on va essayer d'extendre les activités non seulement sur l'extorsion, mais également sur les crimes organisés à Madagascar. Et tant qu'on n'a pas les moyens, on ne pourrait pas avoir des résultats à 100% ou des résultats satisfaisants. Donc, on va essayer de trouver pour l'année 2022 également des partenariats avec des autres organisations parce que l'aventure avec Global Initiative est tellement enrichissante. Donc, je vous remercie pour votre attention.
Merci beaucoup, Rina. Thank you so much. You were speaking about the importance of, you know, the journalism in extortion and the work that you did with your mentor. So this is an opportunity for us to thank all of our mentors for this fellowship. And we also had a partnership with Global Investigative Journalism Network. And we have been lucky to also work with really extraordinary journalists from all over the world for this fellowship. But I would also like to introduce you to another mentor of this fellowship. His name is Eduardo Safuto. He's from Adio Pizzo, a grassroots anti-mafia movement of business and consumers who refuse to pay pizzo or extortion in Italy to the mafia. Eduardo is also a member of the Global Initiatives Expert Network and, like I said, a mentor of the 2021 Resilience Fellowship. Welcome, Eduardo.
Thank you very much, Siria. Yes, thank you for this invitation, and I'm happy that I can share with you all the long experience of Addio Pizzo in assisting the victims of the mafia. So I'm going to give you a presentation about this particular topic. All right, yes, as Siria said, I'm Edoardo Zaffuto, and I'm from Palermo. I am a member of this grassroots movement that was born in Palermo in 2004 and focused the pizzo problem. So that is actually the mafia extortion racket in Sicily. Today, my presentation, as I said, is actually focused on one of the specific sector of the activity of Addio Pizzo, the assistance to the victims of the mafia. So in general, the activity of Addio Pizzo focuses three main sectors: the critical consumption to support shops and business which do not pay extortion money, the assistance for the victims of the mafia, and social and education projects. So focusing the assistance, I want to first of all give you a profile of the victim of extortion in Sicily and in general in South Italy. The victim of the mafia extortion racket are shop owners, artisans, and entrepreneurs. They are mainly small or middle-sized businesses, usually family-run. And they can be of different product sectors. But there are some sectors like constructions, which are particularly exposed and vulnerable for practical and historical reasons. This is what a victim of the mafia extortion racket usually deals with: fear, insecurity, discouragement, distrust and lack of confidence in the state, isolation, stress, potential economic damage or loss of earnings, and the lack of information about the tools they could benefit from. So these are the critical factors of their condition of victims, and Addio Pizzo offers itself to impact on all of them. So how Addio Pizzo gets in contact with the victims? There are usually two possible situations. The victim receives an extortion demand, or gets threatened, or his business is damaged for intimidation. And then the victim contacts Addio Pizzo. For example, they can call a 24-hour active phone number. It's a sort of SOS phone number. And then Addio Pizzo accompanies the victim to the police for the reporting. Otherwise, when the victim has already reported the extortion, he can get in contact with Addio Pizzo after that. And sometimes the police itself suggests the victim to get in contact with Addio Pizzo.
Eduardo, I think we're having problem to see your slides on the screen. I don't know if why it seems frozen. Yes, now we're in slide 6. Sorry, we were only on the first one and
I'm sorry.
Wondering. No worries.
Can you see it now?
Well, it's still on page number 1. So now, yes, it is moving. Where would you be now?
All right. So you can see it, the second now?
Yes, yes, now it's the second.
All right. So I'm gonna continue from from this slide here.
Okay.
So, so the assistance for reporting extortion. So Addio Pizzo has already supported something like 300 victims, staying close to them from the very first contact to the trial, and and even after that. The assistant work has always been operated by volunteers, including a selected group of lawyers. And these are in short the steps. First of all, Adiopizzo listens to the victim's experience, the present and past experiences, gets information about the background, and pieces entirely together the situation. Then after that, Adiopizzo gives the victims a detailed overview about the benefit of reporting and the benefit of cooperating with the authorities. Adiopizzo gives information about the risks and how to minimize them, gives information about the legislative tools that can help the victims of extortion. Basically, Adiopizzo and the victims start to set up a strategy. And then a very important step is Adiopizzo accompanies the victim to the police for reporting the extortion. In the following days, Adiopizzo helps the victim to manage the mediatic exposure that often follows an extortion report in order to reduce the risks of overexposure. If necessary, Adiopizzo keeps an open channel of communication with the law enforcement and the prefect to guarantee the safety of the victim. And before the beginning of the trial, the lawyers prepare the victim for the testimony in court and stays beside the victims during the trial, often suing as a civil party. So Adiopizzo play plaintiff. Last year, thanks to a publicly funded project, Adiopizzo activated 3 additional services for the victims in order to provide complete assistance. We could start professional partnerships with an additional lawyer, a psychologist, and a business consultant. For the first time, Adiopizzo also started to officially offer his support not only to victims of extortion, but also to victims of loan sharking. So the legal consulting, the additional lawyer offers out-of-court support, in particular to access the benefits provided by the Italian legislation. They are tools specifically created for the victims of the mafia. For example, there is an Italian law, the law 4499, that provides a refund for the economic damage and for the loss of profit due to the mafia tax, as long as the refunded money will be entirely reinvested in the business itself. An additional regional law refunds the victims' taxes and social security contributions for 5 years after the indictment of the extortionist. So as you can see, Italy has excellent laws to compensate the victims of the mafia, but the victims are often not aware of them, or anyway, they are not in the condition to easily apply for these benefits. And this is what Adiopizzo does. It helps to access them. The business consultant helps the victim to deal with the financial difficulties due to the extortions, to the intimidation, or to the social isolation of the business. Tries to intervene to manage the relations with suppliers, clients, banks, as sometimes they dramatically change after the report. The business consultant estimates the actual damage and the loss of profit to achieve the compensation for the victims of the mafia, and set up strategies together with the entrepreneur to exit the crisis and get back to the market. These strategies also include the Adiopizzo's critical consumption campaign. The psychologists deal with the victim's emotional distress that is caused by the trauma and by the feeling to be in danger. But there is even more than fear, because sometimes in specific contexts, the shopkeeper that reported extortion lives an uncomfortable condition for having broken the mafia culture. So if the shopkeeper have been living immersed in it, surrounded by people that consider wrong to report, that consider infamous to speak up, he can start to experience emotional distress and to even reconsider his choice. Oh, sorry. The psychologists also support not only the victim, but also his relatives, especially when they did not agree with the decision to report. Sometimes it's necessary to recompose a broken balance among the family members or in the couple. During the preparation of the victims for the testimony in court, the psychologist helped him to deal with the stress of reliving the trauma, so of digging up the past. The victim deals with the past, with a painful past, but also with the anxiety for the future. The question is, what will happen when the mafioso will get out of jail? And finally, the psychologist addressed the victim for the forensic medical report necessary for the compensation of the psychological damages. So the final goal of Addiopizzo is not just to solve a specific episode of extortion. The mission is accomplished when the victims and their business are reintegrated in the society and in the market. The experience of the victim opened with an intimidation or an extortion demand must be closed permanently after the end of the trial. So the extortion episode and its consequences should be just like a parenthesis in their life and in the story of the business. And the only thing that should remain after that is the feeling that it is possible to trust the community and to trust the state. So the sensation of being part of a supportive society. So when the other speakers gave us their presentation, we could see some differences, some different phases of the phenomenon of extortions around the world, in Mexico, in Malawi, or in Madagascar, because of course it varies a lot according with the different contexts and the different countries. But it is also possible to notice some similarities and some common characteristics. So maybe the Addiopizzo model of assistance for the victims of extortion, even if it's not possible to replicate exactly like it is in Sicily, maybe it can inspire and can be rearranged and integrated and adapted to the different contexts in order to become more effective and suited to the different situations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eduardo, for helping us bring the victims at the center of the discussions of this 2021 fellowship, but also for sharing the case of Addiopizzo, which is always a good reminder to know that extortion can be fought, that extortion, it is something that can be addressed when communities come together. So thank you so much. We're approaching now the end of this event. Next, we're going to present you actually part of the collaborative project of the 21 fellows, but before 2021 fellows. But before that, I want to actually thank our 10 fellows for all the work that they've done on the last year. So I want to use this opportunity to again commend all their work, all the efforts they put during last year, not only to fight extortion in their communities, but to really bring this international community of anti-extortion practitioners. So thank you so much, Nukila Evanti from Indonesia, Vandal Patricks from Liberia, Sia Rehman from Pakistan, Juvenal Waibu Bilongwe from Democratic Republic of Congo, Lucia Marin from Peru, of course, thanks to Ponelo, Vania, and Miloš again, Reina. And now I have the honor to introduce you to Josué de Cabele. He's also a 2021 fellows. He's a photojournalist and fixer in Guatemala. And he also helped us coordinate this call to action. Josué, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Muchas gracias, Siria. Saludos a todos los que están conectados, a todos los que nos ven. Este ha sido un esfuerzo colaborativo en todos los niveles. Ha sido un gran viaje en lo personal, en lo colectivo y también en el trabajo que hemos realizado dentro de nuestras comunidades para poder comprender un poco más de cerca este fenómeno. Muchas gracias también a la Iniciativa Global y al Fondo de Resiliencia por permitirnos esta oportunidad de ir paso a paso, de ir un poquito más allá de lo que normalmente podríamos hacer en otras circunstancias. Este esfuerzo colaborativo también ha sido gracias al apoyo incondicional de este gran equipo que está atrás del Fondo de Resiliencia y de la Iniciativa Global. Gracias a ellos que nos han acompañado a lo largo de este proceso, hemos también logrado integrar una sola voz, junto con los compañeros y con las compañeras de Fellows. Cada quien ha tenido este pequeño trabajo dentro de sus comunidades, pero también hemos logrado integrar este mensaje en una sola voz que quisiéramos presentarles en este momento. Verán los rostros, las voces, los corazones también de cada uno de nosotros a lo largo de este proyecto, en este pequeño video que tratamos de mostrar como un resumen de lo que ha sido este viaje. Entonces, sin más palabras, muchas gracias y que corra el video.
Ekstorsi atau extortion adalah masalah utama yang mempengaruhi kesejahteraan semua manusia di seluruh dunia.
लोग खौफ में रहते हैं क्योंकि उनकी खानदानों की जिंदगी और ज़रूरी मैश को खतरात लायक होते हैं। उनके साथ साथ उनकी अमलाक और साथ को भी खतरात लायक रहते हैं।
Como personas que trabajan para poner fin a la extorsión, hacemos un llamado a las autoridades en todos los niveles y poderes del gobierno para que hagan más en poner fin a este crimen. Ahora.
L'extorsion est un phénomène vraiment qui combat la population. Nous voulons que justice soit faite et que les criminels soient sanctionnés sévèrement et les victimes soient réparées de leurs droits bafoués par rapport à l'extorsion. Merci.
El gobierno debe mejorar la aplicación de la ley y el sistema judicial. Las leyes contra la extorsión son de poca utilidad si no se implementan y hacen cumplir.
Građani treba da imaju mogućnost da lako prijave iznudu i sa pravom da očekuju pravdu.
Governments must carry out and support research to identify the root causes of extortion and organized crime in communities and take action to address this.
Los esfuerzos para poner fin a la extorsión pueden beneficiarse sustancialmente de la cohesión social y esto debe fomentarse.
isika lasivatra ary tsy azo ekena ny tsy maty manontany.
Tikueneka kuti titsetsenkhanza pakati pa achinyamata chifukwa tikapanda kutero tipangitsa kunena kuti achinyamata awa akhale otenga mbali pochitira ena nkhanza zimene zitatikulitsire ntchito.
Thank you, Josue, and thank you again to our fellows for this wonderful video. We're closing to the end. Yes, a clap. It was very, very emotional for us. I was texting Anna from my team that how moving it is for us and the team to see this message, the work that you guys have put together. So congratulations again, and thank you. And a big thank you also to the Resilience Fund team. Thank you for all that you've done for our fellows, but also to put together this video, this event, and the webpage that now my colleague Ian Tennant is going to present to you to end this webinar. Please let me introduce you to the Resilience Fund Manager, my colleague Ian Tennant. Bienvenido, Ian. Welcome.
Hello. Can you hear me and can you see me?
Yes.
Good. Okay, well, thanks, Siria, and importantly, thanks to Miloš, Vania, Panelo, Rihanna, Eduardo, Juvenal, all the fellows that have presented to us today, and all the fellows that have worked together this year. And even in this short meeting today, we've been able to see some of the incredible things you have achieved this year. And if you want to find out more, as Siria said, about this year's fellowship on extortion and organized crime, there is a web page outlining all the main achievements and activities of this year's fellows, which I believe will now be posted in the chat of this meeting. Yes. Okay. So before we close, I just want to say that this group of fellows has truly embodied what the Resilience Fund is all about. They've convened and collaborated around a common issue, but across geographies, cultures, languages, in the face of criminal governance and, of course, the global pandemic. And you'll see on the web page that was being created, and in the video that you've just seen as well, that the impact that they have had goes beyond their communities. Through the fellowship, they've reached international audiences who have learned more about extortion and what needs to be done to prevent and counter it. The fund, since its beginnings in 2019, has supported over 100 organisations and individuals, including the 10 fellows that we've heard from today. And with continued funding into the future from our principal financial partner, the Government of Norway, along with the funding we've received from others, such as the governments of Germany, Netherlands, New Zealand, we look forward to building on the work that has been done so far and to continue building a global network of civil society resilience. And that civil society resilience, which we've seen so much of today, has to be further nurtured and supported so that it can truly fulfill its potential as a key pillar of our effective and holistic strategies against organized crime, whether at the local, national or global levels. So with that, I just want to say once again, congratulations to everybody at the Global Initiative who's worked on this, to all the fellows, all of our partners and collaborators. It's been a truly eye-opening year and an impactful year for the Resilience Fund. So thank you very much. We look forward to more years to come.
Yes, thank you and congratulations again. This is the end of the journey for the 2021 fellowship, the second Resilience Fellowship only, but we're really excited to see where this is going. You will continue to hear about us. This is not the end of this fellows' work. The Resilience Fund network continues to integrate the work of our fellows and grantees around the world. So you will continue to hear from us, and you will continue to hear from us too soon on environmental crime, which is the new theme of the 2022 fellowship. So thanks again to our team, our wonderful interpreters, our mentors, all the people who supported this fellowship. Thank you so much. And of course, big thank you to all our wonderful fellows. Muchas gracias, merci, and hasta luego.